This time on BC Wild, spring has arrived and I'm headed out in search of black bears. Spring is one of my favorite times of year. The snow's gone, nature coming back to life, and of course, the opportunity to top the freezer back off with one of the most underrated game meats in North America. Although bear season opens on April 1st here in BC, most years I don't really start getting serious until May. But after a mild winter and the snow long melted, I decided to head out a little early this year with hopes that the early spring has the bears up and moving. First trip of the year, I'm out a little bit earlier than I usually like to go this year. Usually I don't like to start hunting until first week of May or so. It's last week of April, but I figured just because we had such a mild winter this year that bears might be out a little bit early. Didn't see any sign on the way in, no bears or anything like that. So I was feeling a lot more optimistic on my way out here, but I'm sure there's a few bears out and kicking around already. And just the way my work schedule kind of works this year, I'm going to be gone most of May. May is usually when I like to hunt bears the most. I just find in June it starts to get a little bit too warm and they're kind of hunkered down during the day. May they tend to be out all day, and also just a lot more danger with meat loss and stuff like that when you're hunting in 20-degree weather. So, but yeah, I'll see what I can turn up. Probably just do a bit of a road hunt tonight. Planning to be out here for a couple days, but we'll see how it goes. And at the very least, it's nice and warm out. Be a good camping trip. When I arrived at the lake was still pretty well frozen solid, dashing any hopes of fresh trout cooked over the fire. As I set up camp, a stiff breeze begins to pick up, and as it does, the lake begins to open. Got a nice little camp set up. This is actually one of my favorite spots to camp. It's a really nice rec site. It's 5 or 6 sites, and I've never actually seen anyone else camp here. I'm sure during the summer there's probably a few people that use it, but for this time of year, I've always had it to myself, so it's a pretty nice little setup. And gonna head out for my first evening hunt here. My plan for tonight is I'm gonna go drive a road that I know the bears tend to use. It's kind of an older road, never actually seen anyone else on it, so go see if there's any sign on the road, maybe turn up a bear, but just mostly looking for sign. And then I'm gonna head down to an area that is one of my best kind of spots within this little area. I've killed a couple bears in there. There always seems to be bears hanging out in there. It's a nice grassed over road. And it's got a nice little hill that I can get up high and glass if I want. So probably go do that for the last 2 hours of light. I spend the evening checking my usual spots. I drive, I walk, and I glass, but it quickly becomes apparent via the complete lack of bear sign that it's still just a little too early. It's pretty optimistic coming out here just with mild winter, low snow levels, that the bears are going to be up early this year, but it's quickly becoming apparent that they're not. Drove a couple roads, a couple areas I know that bears like to hang out. It's my fourth or fifth year hunting this spot now. I have it pretty dialed to the point where you never know where you're going to run into a bear, but I know the areas that they tend to use more than others. And just no sign whatsoever. camp now. It's just really obvious that the bears aren't up yet, and that's all right. I wasn't really expecting, I was optimistic they might be, but I wasn't really actually expecting that they would be. I've gone through this before where, it's been nice in town and it's feeling like they might be up already, and they're just not yet. And it's just too dead out there. There's not enough feed for them, not enough reason for them to be up. But in a couple hours I was going hunting, the lake's almost completely opened up. The ice is at least kind of drifted to the far side, so I got lots of open water here. So I'm going to be making up some ribs tonight for dinner. Kind of pre-made them at home. I rubbed them in oil and got a good dry rub on them, wrapped them in tinfoil. I'm going to throw them on my barbecue and just kind of slow cook them, have the barbecue on real low. And while that's happening, I'm going to fish. The fish are rolling like crazy out there right now. It's mostly small ones, but I'm kind of hoping that means there's some big ones chasing around, and see if I can't get a trout for breakfast. This recipe for ribs has quickly become one of my favorites for camp meals. It's a little bit time consuming as you want your ribs to slow cook for an hour minimum, 2 or 3 being ideal to keep them from becoming chewy, but believe me when I say, it's worth it. Normally when I do this, I'll use my Dutch oven to deep fry my fries, but as I mentioned before, I forgot my dry food, which included my oil. So this time I'll have to get a little creative and try to bake them on the barbecue. Toasty. With the food cooking, I fish a little, but it's to no avail. But it doesn't matter. It's a perfect night to sit by the campfire, enjoy a cold beer, and watch the ducks and pelicans take advantage of the iced-off lake. When the ribs are close to finish, I open the foil, add barbecue sauce, and recover until the barbecue sauce warms and begins to caramelize. While not as good as deep fried, wrapping the fries in tinfoil and adding butter did do the trick. The next morning I check a few spots I didn't get to the night before and find more of the same. No sign and no bears. But in a month, I'll be back for prime time. It's been a few weeks since I was last out here and things have really changed. Got back from work a little bit earlier than I thought I would, which is good. I'm kind of right here for prime time. I believe it's May 24th today. So all the bears should be up. It should have been up for a few weeks now. Had a bit of time to feed, and just going to be kind of day tripping. I'm only home for 5 days here before I go back to work, and then I won't be back till the end of bear season, so, or once bear season's over. So I'm not looking for anything particular, just looking for, a somewhat mature bear to put in the freezer. If I find a big one, great, but I'm not going to be too picky about that. So yeah, I'm out here for today. It's pretty early still. It's about 12:30 right now, so gonna do a bit of fishing, see if I can't get a fish for lunch, and then probably just mostly road hunt for tonight, just kind of see where the bears have been hanging out, and got a couple good south-facing slopes that I'll check out. Got my dog with me, so he's a little bit hard to hike with, and then the wife and I will be camping up here this weekend, and then I'll still have Monday, Tuesday to hunt. It's a wet and miserable day and the fish don't cooperate, but it's feeling like a good night to find some bears. Turned into a really nice evening here. Getting a break in the weather anyway, so thought I'd go for a walk. I'm just walking this old deactivated road. I've never walked this road before, but gives you a good look into this big cut block. So bit of a pain in the ass to walk with the dog. He's not always the best on the leash. Obviously, for legal reasons alone, I gotta have him on the leash. So yeah, just kind of walking this road. I've already seen a bit of sign. It looks really good. It's a good road that you'd find bears traveling on. It's grassed over. It's got dandelions and some nice green grass. So I'm just gonna keep walking up this road a little ways, then
and head back to the truck, and especially if the weather stays nice, then I got another spot that I want to try and walk tonight.
I walk the road as far as it goes and find no bears. But on my way to the next spot, I find my first bear of the trip.
Got my first bear of the trip spotted here. He was standing up on this edge. Looked like a really, really nice bear. Big, healthy. But I had a couple looks off the road. But I hate shooting off the main road when I don't have to. I was a little bit shaky, a little bit excited, so just decided not to pull the trigger. So he disappeared down into this dip, so I climbed up. And I never saw him leave, so I think he has to be in here somewhere, but unless he booked it out of here when I was climbing a little hill. But it's really hard to walk in here quietly. There's lots of deadfall, and so I think on top of never seeing him leave, I most likely would have heard him leave. So I'm just gonna cross this dip, get to this next kind of point, look back into this, see if I can relocate him, or maybe bump him on the way there if he's hiding in these youthful trees somewhere. But yeah, we're off to a good start. I mean, first night, first bear. Even if I don't get this one, I mean, that's what it's all about, these little stalks. They make it fun.
I push all the way to the ridge top and do a large circle around the area I'd last seen the bear, but I never see him again.
It's amazing how much your perspective changes once you're actually in there. You know, how many little hiding spots and little valleys and shit he could have disappeared into.
I spend the remainder of the evening glassing some south-facing slopes and driving some old roads. I do run into a cow moose and a few more bears, but nothing I decide to pull the trigger on. I'll be back in the morning and ready for another day. The next day I'm back with my wife, and our day starts off pretty slow, but with just a few remaining hours of light, we run into our first bear. We caught this bear in the middle of the road while driving between spots, and he doesn't hang around long. I decide to follow the small finger the bear left through in hopes he only stopped a few hundred yards into the trees, but I never see the bear again.
Been hunting for 4 or 5 hours. Finally spotted our first bear. Pretty nice cinnamon boar. I think it was a boar. I didn't get the best look at it. We were just driving, so he didn't stick around long. Took off pretty quick, but that's alright. We hiked in here a way to see if he held up anywhere. Don't think he has.
Not even a kilometer down the road, we find our second bear of the evening. This bear obviously hasn't seen us, or just didn't care and has given me a pretty good shot, but standing in a blind corner of the road, I decide to hold off. Using the ditch as cover, I decide to push up closer and wait for the bear to step off the road and into a safer position for a shot. Unbeknownst to me, The bear ends up climbing up into the ditch, and I end up pinned at about 25 yards. Unable to move to draw my gun up, I end up letting the bear walk back into the timber. I follow and quickly relocate him.
Just got a shot off on a bear. Looked like a pretty good one. I don't think it's a monster, but decent bear nonetheless. Pretty sure it was a boar. Not always the best at guessing on that, but a little bit smaller head, so but looks a little bit blockier up front. But yeah, saw it go down almost right away. Just giving it a few minutes here before I walk over. Went and grabbed my bag, and I can see it sitting there. And don't think it's moving, but I think it's just good practice. Give it 10-15 minutes, and let it die peacefully. Don't want it to get up and run, but felt like a good shot. It's a nice short 50-yard chip shot. So don't see any reason why it wouldn't have already expired, but just making sure. Then head on over there and go put my hands on him. Come here. Look.
My shot is perfect, and the bear doesn't go far. I relocate him in minutes, but there's no time to relax. It's hot, and the meat will spoil damn quick in these conditions. I quickly dump the guts and get him dragged out to the truck and into the box so I can get him home to be hung, skinned, and broken down. I'm back home now, and it's actually been a few weeks since this hunt was filmed. Just got busy with work, got busy with other things, middle of summer now. So I have already taste tested this bear. I know it's a really good tasting bear, nothing going on funny with the meat, but I've never had an issue with bear meat anyways. I was actually thinking about skipping the cooking part of this episode, but I just think it's really important to showcase what we do with the meat after we make the kill. As hunters, we're not just out there killing things for fun, and I think especially with bears, I tend to get a lot of questions about that, even from other hunters, about what I do with the meat. Do you actually eat it? And I just think it's such an underrated meat. They're readily available, especially here in BC. We can shoot 2 a year. They're pretty easy to find. We've got tons of black bears. Doesn't matter where you go in BC, you're probably going to run into a black bear. So tonight I'm going to be making bear tacos. Slow cook the bear roast all day, front shoulder roast, not necessarily a prime cut, but slow cook it all day. Shreds apart really easy, and then fried in the cast iron with a bit of taco seasoning, a bit of water, kind of turn that into a sauce. And then just all the regular ingredients. Depends what you like on your taco, but got jalapenos. I made up some fresh pico. Gonna have cheese, hot sauce, sour cream, all that fun stuff. I am missing one ingredient. One thing I normally like to put on my tacos is avocado, but I forgot to pick that up at the grocery stores. As I mentioned, I started this recipe in the morning. Start by slow cooking your roast in some form of stock. I'm using stock I made from a mule deer this past fall for 8 hours on hot. Not only does this eliminate any chance of trichinosis, it also makes the meat fall apart tender. Later in the day, you can begin preparing your toppings. I like to keep my tacos relatively simple, but you can add whatever you'd like. For the pico, chop up half an onion, I like jalapeno, a tomato or two depending on the size, and cilantro. Then add some salt, pepper, fresh garlic, lime juice, and mix it well. Remove the meat from the slow cooker, add to a bowl, and shred it apart. After preheating your frying pan, add the meat, coat it with a liberal amount of taco seasoning, add a cup of water, and let this simmer until the water cooks down into a sauce. Once the meat is done, construct the tacos. Overstuffing the wrap and having it blow apart is a common problem of mine. Quick, easy, limited dishes, and just downright delicious. A taco on a hot summer day like this one is pretty tough to beat. If you're not already hunting bears, you really are missing out, especially in the spring. Tags are easy to come by, there's no shortage of them, and it's a great opportunity to get back out after a long winter and restock the freezer with premium red meat. Bear meat tends to get a bad rap, and I understand there's some exceptions out there, but if you're hunting them in the right areas, fed on greens and berries, in my opinion, it's one of the best meats available.